Hey everybody, I'm just gonna get going in a second here. I was just watching the 3D Hangouts show with Noah and Pedro, and I like how they had a little pre-chat before the show. So we have, according to my clock here, about 1 minute before the actual official start of the show. So this is a good chance to see if we're showing up live everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and go live on Facebook now too. Let me set that over there. And let's check the chats. Can I get a what in the Discord chat? Are you good for audio, for video? And let's see if YouTube, have you updated? Yeah. All right, check it out. Hi, John. I see you. All right, I'm going to the card, title card. I need some cool title music. I need some music. Ooh, can I play that thing I wrote? Let's see. Probably not. I won't mess with that. If we have time, though, I want to show you a... Hey, I'm John Park, and this is my workshop. Welcome to John Park's Workshop. I was just chatting with people in the various chats over on the YouTube and Discord, checking in to see if we're working. Looks like we're good. I'm going to hide my video image so I don't lose my mind. And I'm going to bring up the Discord chat here so you can all see. This is where we're at. If you go to adafruit.it/live, you should get something interesting. Maybe you're already there. And we're in the chat at Discord on the Adafruit channel in live broadcast, and we are in the chat in YouTube. Hey, everybody. Hello and hello. So this, as you can see by the title, today's episode of John Park's Workshop, we're going to do an Arduboy game control hack. Oh, I put that in the front. Let me get that in the back. Yeah, so we're going to do a little bit of a hack on the Arduboy. So first I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Iced coffee. I'm not sipping hot coffee through a straw. That's a mistake you only make once. Ah, delicious cold brew. So, Arduboy. How many of you have or have heard of the Arduboy? Arduboy is pretty awesome. I'm going to show one. Let me grab one from over here and show it to you. In fact, let's switch to that camera. That'll be a nice transition over here to the bench. That's an Arduboy. That's an Arduboy. They've come in a couple of different flavors and colors over the years. And I think I'll leave this on here. Well, let me bring it a little closer for a second. So the Arduboy is an open source, pocket-sized game device. It runs off of it's an Atmega 32U4, I'm pretty sure. And I think originally this was put together using an Arduino Leonardo, maybe. And there was a very successful Kickstarter, and it's open source, so you can actually program this in Arduino. And we actually sell this one in the store, in the Adafruit store, and one of the reasons being that it's open source and that you can write your own software for it. It's a bunch of libraries to help you get started. I've talked about this before, this is one of my favorite games on here. It's called Circuit Dude, and Circuit Dude is very hard for you to see probably, but it's a little puzzler. Let me get this to where, there we go. Yeah, you can't see that at all. This is a little puzzler where you move a character around who's a little computer chip, and he fills in sockets, and as he fills them, he can't go back over that spot. So it's kind of a path planning game. There you can see my favorite thing just happened. Did you see that green light turn on? I don't know if anyone else has used this so effectively in a game system ever. But in this game, when you complete the level, a real RGB LED over here turns green, which is super satisfying. And if I go there, I'll finish the level. Let's do that. And now I'm on to the next level, right? Yeah, so if I run into trouble, I can quit the level by holding down, I think this button. Yeah, boom, and my guy blows up so it turns that LED red. Anyway, I love that. I think that's very cool. But that's not why we're here today. The reason we're here today is that I decided to do something a little bit absurd with an Arduboy. So this is the one we have in the Adafruit store. This is actually one I got that they were selling off their back stock of Kickstarter ones. And the funny thing with these Kickstarter ones is that, I don't know if you can see this right here, not at all. It says on the back, 1 of 10,000. All of them say 1 of 10,000. So it's kind of a funny, bizarre slip up for having like a personalized thing. They all say 1 of 10,000. So if someone forgets that someday and gets excited about it, maybe I'll sell it for a ton on eBay, but they're all 1 of 10,000. So here's the Arduboy, and what I'm going to do today is add much larger controls to this. So a couple games that I really love to play on here. There's Circuit Dude, and there's a really great Space Invaders clone called Picovaders. In fact, I've got that on here right now. Let's boot this up. And probably hear the ominous Space Invaders action. Oh, let me turn on my chat over here. So there's a little piezo speaker in here, a little piezo buzzer. And I love Space Invaders, but it's not the easiest game in the world to play with your thumb on 2 buttons. Let me turn this power switch off, it's tiny. Now, this is a ton of fun to play when you're on the go. I actually keep one of these in my little bag that I bring with me everywhere, so I can just pop this out and play. You can actually, one of the nice things on that in this software, and you can look at the software, that's one of the fun things. You can open up Picovaders in your Arduino IDE and mess around with it. So I've done stupid stuff like make the bases really wide, or make my guy invulnerable, or have a bazillion lives, or make the missiles shoot faster. So you can go in and tune the game, which is a lot of fun. You start the game up with either the A or B button, and on this one I've written this down. So this is B on the left, and this is A on the right. I think that's different from a Game Boy. If you use this button when it starts up, there's no sound. When you use this button when you start up, there is sound, which is kind of cool. There's not a separate volume or sound on-off switch on here, but you could add one. And so that's part of the reason that we're here today, is to look at modifying it. So I said I would like to play Space Invaders, but what I would like to play it with is one of these. I want to use a full-size arcade joystick. And what's this? What do we have here? Some full-size 30mm arcade buttons. So my plan here today is to crack this open. We're going to have a look at the PCB and see that this is pretty straightforward to do on this device because it's open. There's not going to be a lot of soldering to tiny pins on the chip itself. There's actually pads broken out on the back of the PCB that we can use to very easily, I think, I haven't tried it before, but I looked at the pads, they look very solderable, and add the joystick and buttons to this. So let me switch cameras here, and I have already taken 4 of the screws off, so we're not slowed down too much by that, but it's just that easy. 4 little screws, there's no glue to heat up or little snap fit connector, to remove, so it's straightforward and easy to get inside of. All right, so I got my screws stored there. So here's this nice little aluminum back. I haven't decided exactly yet how we're gonna enclose all this stuff, so we'll figure that out as we go, but we're gonna need to have some open space for wires. So here's the battery. And the battery is a little LiPo battery, a little 3.7 volt, 180 milliamp hour battery. So there's some interesting ideas there where you could attach your own connectors, maybe get rid of this battery and have an external giant battery. Again, you realize I'm defeating the purpose of this thing being so incredibly wonderfully small by doing what I'm doing, but that's the conceit here. So here's our little polycarbonate face and the little lovely little buttons, really satisfying buttons to click because there are these mechanical button switches on the board that you're actually pushing down when you press those. So it's a great feeling device. Okay, so get ready for this. This thing has the coolest silk screen. I hope you can focus my little camera. Go ahead and focus. I think it has focused. So there's just awesome, cool, weird stuff on here. There's a hamburger, and boom, and a little bird, and Nyan cat, a dinosaur, and on and on. So there's kind of a fun little Easter egg of weird stuff. There's some cherries, maybe from Pac-Man. Someone in assembly put some tape on here, I think, to hold this little piezo down, so it's kind of hiding that cat that's looking at us. And I think also looking at the differences between the Kickstarter edition and this one, this little piece of tape here is probably to prevent a short if someone bends this in. So there was probably some lessons learned there as they went from the Kickstarter edition to full production. So I'm gonna hold this up for a second. Let me grab something to point with. You know what I'm also gonna do? I'm gonna get this right up to the camera, and I'm gonna focus the camera. This battery, by the way, I've heard from some people, it does have a tendency to, the tabs have a tendency to break if you wiggle them back and forth too much when you're doing stuff like this. So I'm gonna be careful to kind of prop them up with a couple of these helping hands so that that doesn't move. Okay, so let me get something to prop that up a little closer to the camera, and then I'm going to head over to the computer and do a manual focus on the camera. Is that too close? That should work. Okay, so hang on. Let me get this a little more stable. Hang on for a minute, and let me go over here to the computer, and I will focus that. And to focus that, actually, I'm going to switch back to this view. Excuse me. I have a little app called Logitech Camera Settings. I can't remember if I paid a couple bucks for it or if it was free, but it allows you to turn on manual focus for this camera, which is helpful. There we go. Look at that. Look at that cool board, huh? So fun. So what you can see here is, let me grab a little pointer. Where's my little, there it is. So, okay, so what I think is interesting here, I'm going to put on some glasses because I can't see that thing now, it's just tiny. Here we have some familiar pad names coming from Arduino. So here are the analog pins, A0, A1, A2, A3. Here's an analog reference, A4, A5. Down here we have VCC, ground, reset. Over here are some digital pads, D8, D7. So there's also a reset on here. There's a, this one actually I don't know if it's active anymore. It says make loud, and this was soldered on the Kickstarter edition. These two pads were jumpered together, and I think it was using two analog sound outputs simultaneously to boost the volume, but I think there were some issues with that, and so they stopped doing it, but that's remained on the board. I tried jumping them and I didn't hear a difference. And okay, so let me show you this for a second, then I think I'll maybe leave the camera focused there. So this is the pinout for the Arduboy, and here's our Mega 32U4 chip. And if we look up here, the Arduino style pin or pad names, A1, 2, 3, 4, so on. And here's the switches. And so switch 1, 2, 3, and 4 are arranged on the schematic as they are on the device. So that's up, right, down, and left. And so those are mapped up, right, left for S3 here on A2, and down. And then these two switches you see here, those are the A and B buttons. So A is this one called switch 5, and it's on pin D7, and B is called switch 6, and that's on D8. So what I've done is made myself a little chart that I'm going to follow to try not screwing up here, which shows the wire coloring that I'm going to use coming off of the joystick onto the pads A0, A1, A2, A3, D7, and D8. So those are sort of arbitrary, but some of that is based on the joystick here. So this is a full-size arcade joystick that's sold in the Adafruit store. You can get them all over the place. They're a pretty typical arcade joystick, but the one we have, here's the pin outputs. And so what I did, I'll do this for a second just so you can see how you determine this sort of thing. I'm going to set my camera back to autofocus for a second here. And let me jump out to this camera. So I'll grab a multimeter, and I've got these little clips on my multimeter lead right now that I can grab tiny wires or tiny pins and connect. And so I'm going to go to continuity mode on the multimeter. So right now, if we make a connection, we'll get a beep. So this is how we are going to test which of these wires go where. Now, cooking show style, because I didn't want you to suffer through too much wire splicing, I actually have pre-spliced some very thin silicone 30 gauge wire, and that's what I'm going to solder to the board. But ignoring that for a moment, I will connect up one side of my multimeter to the black wire that was coming off of our harness, which is indeed ground. Common ground for all these switches. And the way this joystick works is this is a set of 4 limit switches that are getting clicked. That's all there is to it. It's not analog, there's not potentiometers in there. It's a very basic 4-way joystick. So now I'll take the red lead, and what did I already map? I'll show you, I'll cheat a little bit. So red was the up switch, is what I determined. So here's the red wire coming off of the harness, and then I've spliced a red 30 gauge wire, silicone 30 gauge wire. And then when I go to the up position, we should hear a beep. Okay. So that's that one. So you can go through, I won't, for time's sake, I won't go through and do that for all of them. Actually, no, you know what, I will. Just to double check that I didn't screw anything up and that my colors do map out. Let's go ahead and do that. That's the sort of thing that's so easy to screw up. You know what I mean? So back to, okay, black on common. So I said right is this orange wire. Now I ran out of orange silicone stranded 30 gauge wire. Actually, I can't remember if we have that or sell that. So I'm just using white here, and I wrote that down in my little notes to myself. So that should be to the right, and it is. And then down is brown. I wonder if that was intentional. Probably not. Again, I didn't have any brown 30 gauge wire, so I used a magic marker to turn a white piece into a brown piece. That may not last because it's silicone. It may not take the ink for that long. I don't know, but good enough for getting soldered correctly. So down, and that means we should be good with yellow being left, and that's the one that'll go onto pad A3. Yes, okay. And then the buttons, these, I'm using these arcade quick connects that we have. These are really cool, especially if you're connecting up to a board that uses, oops, excuse me, these kind of JST connectors. And so these have 2 terminals that click into these standard joysticks, and then you would plug this into the board. I instead of using a proper connector there, have again spliced in a wire to one of them, which is green, and that's what I'm saying is the D8 pin for button B. And then over here, where I made this wiring harness go to all these grounds, I have 2 of those connectors that are, I just tipped them with some black. So again, if I go and connect one side of this wire to ground, and then this side to my multimeter for continuity check, we should see button works. And same thing with this button here. So I'll connect I'll just steal that same ground connection there. I have 2 of those. And go to this blue button, which is going to go to pin D7, and that will act as button A. Okay, good. So all checks out. Excellent. So I don't need this at the moment. Maybe not again for this project. Hello. There we go. So I'll set this off to the side. Good. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. So what we're going to do is let me bring our... Oh, and by the way, this joystick harness disconnects. So that's nice. That means that we'll be able to mount the joystick, and if we are wiring through a panel or something like that, we can reconnect without having to resolder anything. So quick connect's good. Same with the buttons. They all have quick connects. So let's set this all here. I'm going to move our Arduboy back into view. Let me go to a full screen on that, and then I'm going to set manual focus again so that we can see what's going on here. It would be cool if I could control multiple apps with my little button switcher and control this autofocus thing and maybe have a knob. That's fancy stuff right there, but I don't have that. Okay, time for another slug of coffee. And hey, again, thanks again everyone who tuned in last week and the week prior to check out the Drinky Bot, the Chill Drinky Bot. I've got the guide up now, so go check that out if you want to see some of the details, and you know how we got there, so that was a fun one. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just start soldering the joystick wires directly onto the board, and we'll work our way. Yeah, I think these are just going to, see, this is the last chance easily to put on any kind of like sleeving or heat shrink tubing or anything like that. I will probably see if I have some cloth sleeve I can put around it. I might not have anything small enough. Yeah, you know, this, I like this kind of wire loom stuff. Oop, am I not switching? You know, this stuff, this kind of braid sleeve stuff, it kind of expands. This is the same thing that those little finger puzzles that if you tug, you can't get out, are made of. It's woven stuff. Oh, good, it really works, and now I'm stuck. Here we go. But that's kind of big and fat for this. I wish I had some smaller stuff, but oh well. You know, we're going to hide all this wiring away the best we can. So let's, yeah, we might need a hole big enough to put this whole thing through. So this we'll call a prototype, and it could be refined. So let's go ahead and start with, so A0, I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. A0 here, so what I've done is I've pre-tinned these wires, and I'm going to trim them down so that they're just the right size. And I'm actually going to reclamp this so that I don't have that side of the clamp in the way. I'm using the little rubber pads on this pan of ice. All right, so probably that length there will work. You can see this, right? Oh, let me go to Big O Vision for you. Okay. I also did not change the tip on my soldering iron, so it's kind of a big-ish one for this, but I think it's going to work out okay. And I think what I'll try first go is just tin the pad. And then trying to keep this wiring untangled largely. Go ahead and solder that. Okay, we're on. Ideally, if I had the time, I would ground this as well and then test each one as we go. But again, in the interest of time and living dangerously, I won't do that. Take the button off of here. Okay, next one is going to be A1 pad, which is the white silicone wire, aka the red wire coming, oh sorry, the orange wire coming off of this one. Okay. Semi-neat. Okay, so again, I'm going to trim this pre-tinned bit so that I don't have so much excess wire to worry about shorting on things or whatever. Okay, so I've tinned the pad there. And how about we come in under there. Good. So this is it's so nice how they laid out these pads for us. Thank you, Arduboy people. You made it easy. One warning, because I was talking with Kevin from, is it Kevin? Kevin Bates? Please tell me I got your name right. I was talking to Kevin from Arduboy yesterday about my plans to do this, asking him some questions, and he said the one thing to beware of was this darn battery. Like you see, I've clamped it so that it's not wiggling too much. He said he even desolders it sometimes when he's working on them and resolders it because bending it is bad. So he said, please put a disclaimer that people be really careful with that battery because they're hoping to not get a whole bunch of returns on Arduboys after I show this. So, all right, so brown wire going to A2. This is the down button. Trim it. Tin it. Get into a little flow here. Sorry for the camera bump. And let's get that in there. Got it. Last of the joystick switches, yellow, going to A3. This little visual map I made helps me a lot. Sometimes I even color code these things on paper because you just don't want to read it straight down a list. At least I don't want to. I like to see it visually. So these are pretty easy to solder and probably pretty easy to desolder, so it's not the end of the world if you get it off. Okay, so let's do a test here where we also solder in our friend the ground connection. So I've snipped it. I'm gonna, oh my gosh, I'm sorry again about the camera. Stop, camera. Calm. Drop in the, okay, so this is ground is the center one here. A lot of solder built up on the tip here. You don't want a big blob bridging over to something else. Just going to double check. I have this turned off, right? Yes. Where'd you go, Mr. Ground Wire? There you are. I don't like how that one went down. Better. Okay. All right. So let's do a little moment of truth. I'm going to flip this around. Be careful with our battery. Please don't break. Thank you. It still turns on. That is a good thing. And you know what, I'm going to turn it off and then replug in the joystick to its harness since I had these where'd you go? Ooh. I'm trying to put this in the camera view. There you go. So I had this off. This can only go in one way, which is nice. So we won't get it backwards and wreck things. Okay, so looks like nothing is shorted. So I haven't soldered in these buttons yet. The joystick I don't think does anything on this screen, so I'll actually start a game. Yeah, look at that. Oh, I got that one wrong. So, oh, so that's, ha ha ha, I got something wrong. Darn it. So this is going right, and down is going left. How did I do this? No. Oh, man. All right, let's see what we did. So that was, let's see. Yeah, I don't have a game on here. There's only one game on here at a time, so I don't have an easy way to switch it without uploading a new sketch. But it would be nice if I just had something simple like a button tester program to just move a square around and see if my buttons worked. Okay, so let's just see, did I do something obviously wrong? I said red up A0, yes. White / orange, and white goes to orange, is A1, yeah. Brown down A2, yellow, and that brown is going to the brown, yeah. And yellow is A3. Okay, so let's check on the pinouts if that's right, and then maybe I got my colors wrong coming off of the joystick. Someone tell me on the chat here, I'm looking at Discord at the moment, if you saw me say something different than what I just did. Oh, yeah, I think I swapped those. Yeah, okay, so down, oops, down is A3. So let me switch for a second here. Down A3 and left A2. Okay, so we'll switch cameras. This will be a quick, and yeah, I don't even need to do this down at the joystick. It's actually easy enough to desolder and resolder these that I'll do it right here. So I am about to swap yellow and brown. So let's pull off yellow. That's going to go on. Yellow's going to go on A2. Okay. And brown is going to go on A3. Okay. Yellow A2, brown A3. Okay. So I made the mistake on my notes as I transferred from one side of the paper to another. Awesome. All right. So trying this again and getting a sip of coffee. Okay, so we should have, yes, left to right. Put this in camera view. Oh yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's put the buttons in. I hope I got up and down right. I can't test those on this game. Show of hands in the chat. Who's got an Arduboy, and has anyone written some cool software? Any Arduboy fans out there? All right, so buttons. We've got, these are easy to switch later because of the little quick connects. I should count the number of times I've moved this battery because that is a finite thing. There we go. Yeah, so I can switch the quick connects on the buttons really easily when I connect these. So I actually am okay changing my mind about which side the white or the red one goes on. So let's do Yeah, ground is taken care of because I have kind of that ground harness for all of them. So this is going to be, I said, red button. Did I say which one you were? No, I guess that's green wire is going to be D8 and blue is D7. So D7 is a little hidden right here. I don't know if you can see that. Let me move my camera. So I'm going to just lift up that tape a little bit. I think this tape was just added to secure this piezo. You can see it came off a little bit, but it lived right there. I'll tuck that under there. Okay, so D7 is blue and D8 is green. Let's do the D7 because it's a little more on the inside of the board. And I think I'm going to route these all hereward. I don't know if I'm going to destroy the case or what to get there, but so let's tin our pad. This is just fun. It's so nice when you get inside of a piece of electronics and it's been designed to encourage you to play around. And while I'm here, let's do D8. When I was testing this yesterday, I took my phone and flipped the turned it to like selfie mode, flipped to the front facing camera or the screen facing camera, and stuck my phone here to act as a mirror. A mirror would have been better. Looking at the screen, so I had it turned on and I was testing the jumping of these different pads to see if it would work. It was a little bit cockamamie, but it worked. Okay, so we're going to do, what did I say? Green to D8 and blue to D7. All right, so D7 blue. That's going to go there. I'm going to trim that wire a little bit. I'm sorry for the camera bump again. And I want it to head this way, so I'm going to kind of awkwardly hold that there. The art of soldering on camera. Without blocking the view. Okay, that's good. And green to D8, green to D8, yeah. Yes, yes. Keeping a clean soldering iron tip is is a very helpful thing in this case because you really don't want to blob things up. I'm going to actually hold my wire here with a pair of tweezers. It'll be a little easier. You can't have too many different kinds of tweezers. I like these little 45-degree angle ones. They're helpful for getting to things. Oh, I've got to give you a better view. These little guys here are very helpful. Okay, so next moment of truth here is, we're done soldering for the moment, these buttons. So I'm going to connect both of the buttons up to the ground terminals of the wiring harness. So there goes one, doesn't matter which one. And here comes the other one. Okay, so let's flip this around again. I just heard a duck fly by. Look at this one duck. I don't know why he's still here. Shouldn't he be in Mexico by now? All right, clamp that in there. Let me straighten that up for you. Is that in focus? It looks like it. I just want to... Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so... oh, B button, yeah. B button should be the white one. So that should be the one that starts this with sound. So let's... It didn't. Okay. So the red one is the one that starts it with sound. just going to cycle the power. Either that or my piezo came out. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I think I've got another bit of confusion there. This is the B button, I believe, so I'm going to say blue. And I'm going to say green, just keeping my notes straight. Okay, and now the joystick gets involved. Oh yeah, this is very playable. Got him! I just got the saucer, yo. Okay, that's too fun. So let's, thank you Northern Pike. Adding parallel switches with arcade-sized components is a good hack. So here's my idea. Let me switch over to this view. Here's my idea now on Enclosure. Without getting too elaborate, I think I'm just going to put this, at least the controls, in a cigar box. I'm not sure at all how I'm going to mount the Arduboy. I don't think we can get the case back on with all this wiring without hacking the case apart. So let's see, where's our case components? Where's the face? Here's the face. So the face is fine, and the face has two little kind of cutouts for the USB port, which I don't want to block. We still want to use that, and then one for the switch up here. So I could carve into the case again, and then I've got enough wire there that I'm a little worried about bending this battery too much, which is what will happen if this case goes on too tightly. So I think for now what I'll do is I'm just going to screw the top two screws on and leave the gap in the bottom. Ideally I'll cut out a little piece of the aluminum and have this wire sort of neatly and safely come out, file that down so that it's not sharp. But I don't think we'll have time for that today, so for now I'm simply going to screw these top screws back in place. The possibilities are pretty open with the Arduboy as far as doing cool stuff. I looked briefly at Arduboy hacks. One of the coolest ones I've seen is someone who's using it as part of a MIDI trigger setup for a Teenage Engineering, which is a company who makes really cool synthesizers. They have some little pocket operators, they're called. They're like these little pocket calculator-sized beatboxes and synths and stuff. And so someone got their Arduboy synced up with that, and I don't even know what they were using it for as like a UI or something. Well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, we could potentially, like I said, get a little groove cut into the aluminum and have those hanging out the back. But let's see if that still is working as expected with all the wires hanging out. We're good. All right, what did I say? The blue button is our B. Yeah, that's the one with sound. Okay. So let's turn that off. All right, so let's get into the enclosure side of things. Let's go to this view, and I think I'll take this out of here. I'm going to go back to autofocus on my camera because I'll be working at different levels of distance from that camera. And you know what, while I'm here, let's just check out the, hey, Discord, where are you? There's Discord chat and the YouTube chat. Oh, and I don't want to inception you, so let me see if I can squeeze this thing down enough. Is there a way to squeeze this down to just the chat? There, that'll do it. Thomas Hilferty says, is this a useful hack? No. Well, he says it kind of defeats the purpose of the Arduboy. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It does. No, and Pedro defend that idea by saying actually for assistive tech stuff, yeah. So, I mean, the cool thing about the Arduboy, it's tiny. It's got a really nice little OLED screen. If you were in cramped conditions and you needed an assistive technology because you can't hit those buttons, adding big buttons and joysticks down where you can operate them or operate them with a different body part than the thumbs, which is what this is designed for, and yet having a small form factor lightweight thing, that could be useful. My intention with it is just to have fun. It's not meant to be a useful hack, really, for me. But I like that thinking, Noah and Pedro, absolutely. So, any questions? Pads only, no through hole. Yeah, hey John Shafstall, I think there's like a couple of through holes on there. I'm not sure what they are, if they're just vias that weren't used or what. And they weren't even hex screws. They were just nice little Phillips head screws. What do you call those? All right. Oh, I'm losing the chat there. Come back. Where'd you go? There's the chat. Definitely for the fun of hackery. Thanks, Stuart. Okay, so let's get back to putting a case of some kind together for this thing. So I thought cardboard would be pretty easy, but a little, I mean, it's definitely a good way to prototype something like this. I thought I'd move one step up in improvised enclosures by using the cigar box. So here's what I'm thinking. I kind of like the idea of using the back side of this instead of the proper lid. And just because that looks cool. And so I was thinking joystick here and buttons there, something like that. And then if we have the time or in the future, if I want to mount the Arduboy, it could be here. Move this in front of the camera, sorry about that. This was another case I considered, but this one's a little too nice. It's an old oak finger jointed recipe box. I love these. I built a cool synthesizer, an Atari Punk console, into one of those a few years ago. But my supply of those is limited, so I don't want to destroy that one just yet for this project. Okay, so yeah, this is my thought. My God, look how much wiring. I really could have used much shorter wires. You guys get over there. So joystick, buttons, Arduboy could be there. And let's see. Oh, you know, for the short term, yeah, I think I'll just run the wires up and out here. I could punch fairly small holes because I just need to fit that connector through in these connectors. Yeah, so a smallish, less than maybe like a, I don't know, 3/4 inch hole or something like that. We could stuff all the wires through and then use like a little rubber hole grommet thing to make it look a little nicer. But for today, it's just gonna, all the wires will just come up out of there. So to get this guy laid out, I think we'll, this one just take the ball on the joystick's gonna be able to come out. So I think what I'll start with is lay this where I want it and then drill that hole, put this through, and then I'll be able to mark for 2 or 4 of these little screw holes here. So let's say right there, it looks kind of nice. And there is a shaft at the bottom, so I can actually just mark where this shaft was. Let me switch cameras for you. So that's the shaft there that moves around. And so I'll just go ahead and drill that through. It would be smart to do a pilot hole. I'm not gonna. Let me throw on some glasses so I don't take some cedar in the eye. Cigar boxes are, they splinter a lot, to be honest, but they're and through. That's when all the splintering happens. It would have been smart to put a block of wood under it. That helps with the blowout there. Yeah, so look, this is what happens on the inside of this cheap wood. You just get this mess. So if I have other holes to, yeah, in fact, you know, I'm going to be making big holes for those buttons. I will use a little block of scrap wood under there. Okay, so let's get our orientation for this straight. This is up, so go in here. Like so. It has enough clearance to still rotate, which is important for a joystick. Okay, so now I actually want to, I'm going to set down some scrap wood so that this doesn't happen, because I want to mark that. I have a lot of little 2x4 scraps left over from my CNC workbench build. Okay, so let me get that into the camera. You can see that good. So do I still have that oriented right? I think I do. And oh, this is not tall enough. It's still popping that thing up. Get a couple more scraps. Okay, that's good. I think I'll try just these two holes here and here. And you know what? I think just to keep this neater, I'm gonna drill those from the top. So I'm actually gonna mark this from the top, which actually means I wouldn't have needed the scrap wood there either. Let's do it like that, and then we'll reverse it. I think these little holes that have been drilled, the diagonals there, that gives you some adjustment capability later. You can loosen them, twist it a little bit if things get off, which is cool, but I'm not going to use that. Okay, so I want to drill down in. I am not going to stack up enough wood in there to deal with that, am I? Do I have those size? Checking real quick. Let's see. I thought I had a bunch of little scraps. There you are. All right, hang on. We can do this. Okay. These are, again, all little 2x4 nibs ends that I chopped off. How are we doing on time? 10:21 my time. When did I start? 9:30. So we have about 10 minutes. I think we'll make it. Good, that'll do. I don't need these extras. So what I'll do here, I'm going to poke a little starter hole. And then I'm going to use these little M4 cap heads just because I like them. Hopefully that won't be too much of a pain. I can switch them out later if they bump into your hand too much. And so I pre-selected a bit. Sorry, I should do that for the camera. You know this trick? If you hold your chuck in your hand on these drills, you can get it started. There we go. Boy, he really likes to tear that up. Oh, it's not too bad. A nice big washer or something would be good, but I don't think I have any M4 washers at the moment. I burned through them on a project. All right. The fun one is going to be those 1/4 inch or whatever they are, holes bigger than that for the inch and a quarter. I think 1 1/4 inch for the buttons. Those are going to possibly be a mess, but that's why it's a prototype. Okay, so we will insert joystick here. And got a couple of nuts and screws. And that hole is just the size for this where I'm actually able to thread the screw in, which is great. It means it's less prone to flopping around, so you're not just focused, or you're not just relying on the compression. Oh, gotta actually hit the mark there. Compression of the nut against the screw. You've also got some lateral grip of the material. There we go. Onto the screw. And if I have an M4 socket somewhere, I don't think it's convenient to get to, so I'm just going to hand tighten these in here. I will come back later, maybe with some Loctite as well. Okay, that looks cool. Check it out. We have joystick. I guess we can put down the little, that guy. Don't know if we need that or not, but am I doing that right? It feels wrong, but. Okay, so let's cut out for the holes now for the buttons. So we have the red button on the blue wire. I'm writing this all down over here. Yep. Red button, wire. Okay, so I'm going to detach just that one from its little connectors. I guess it would have been really smart to do all of the drilling before I put that joystick in. It's easy to get out if it's a problem, but let's see if I can still fit one of these wood blocks in there sufficiently. Actually, let's take both buttons and maybe that. This is an easier way to do it. So I think that'll work. If that clears. How much clearance do we have? Yep. That screw is basically at the end of that metal panel for the joystick. I like that. Maybe get that up a little. What if I put it way up here? Is that weird? It feels a little weird. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take a little block of wood and get it under there. that spot. And that's where I will drill with a big Forstner bit. Forstner bit has the best chance of making a hole that big without tearing it out. So that center of the Forstner bit will go into that hole. This is the Forstner bit. So you can see it's kind of like two chisels that are planing away the wood. Again, with this junky wood, it will probably tear it, but that's what it'll do. So I'll put that on the drill. Put the white button to the right, low to the right of the red button. Let's see, if I do that, what's that gonna look like? So I'm kind of following the Arduboy spacing there, just because that's what this is based on. That's why I was thinking of putting that there. Where you're saying low to the right. That's kind of cool too. I'm right in the corner there, so I think I'll do this. This would be a fun one to actually laser cut out of some nice acrylic, make a proper little enclosure. But I like the suggestion. I think just to stick with the Arduboy theme, I'll do it like this. All right, let's get some eye protection. Oh, according to my clock, we have about 2 minutes, so let's try to finish up. Am I through? Nope, not yet. Now I'm through. That came out well. Look at that. That's a neat hole. Oh, I split my little piece of scrap wood. That's nice. Yeah, you don't want to put force on the end of a piece of 2x4. All right, so red button will go in like that, and I will wait until I put the hole for the white button, which is going to be there. Give them a little clearance from each other. And I'm just eyeballing that center a little bit by putting an arc. Just be sloppy a little bit. All right, let's try to get a different block of wood that doesn't want to explode. About that. Do it not on the end this time. Let's do a little reality check. If that's there. Does this really still fit? Yes. Okay. A good way to hold this. Yeah, the torque. Through? No. Now we're through. No? Not quite. Now we're through. Almost. I think I can clear that with something else, like a knife. You know, I'm going to just try drilling it from the other side. There we go. Okay, that was exciting. And I'm just going to grab a knife and clean up that hole real quick. And then we'll pop the buttons through and connect them back up. Oh, I just lost the lid. The lid on these cigar boxes is just a piece of glued paper, so that's okay. We will go lidless. It's an open bottomed thing for now. Take that back on later. All right, buttons go through. You can see these have a little retaining clips that spring in to place there, so it snaps in really nicely. Yeah, come on. How great is that? Woo. All right, and then I'm going to reconnect button wiring under here, which is these two grounds and the blue and green wires. Blue wire goes to the red button. It doesn't matter which leg of this goes where. Green wire, white button, ground to each of those. Ground and ground. Okay. Unceremoniously, let's tuck a bunch of wiring under here. That could be nicely taped in there or something later. That's the horror bit of this. Okay, so how about we'll do, I'm just going to use a clamp, I think, to hold that in place right now while we try it out, because we're out of time to attach. So yeah, whoever was in the YouTube chat talking about defeating the point of the Arduboy, we are now definitely big version of what was supposed to be a little game system. Oh, one thing, by the way, that I tested out is putting a different piezo on here, so it's much louder, which is kind of cool. But we don't have the time for that. Oh, you know what? I want to lift that up a bit so you can see it better. Okay, let me focus. I'm going to come over and focus that camera for a moment. Hello. Okay, overhead camera. Let's get it out of autofocus. Okay. Looking good. Let's turn it on and try it out. It still boots, but now we got a full-blown joystick. Yeah. You could make a very space-saving arcade with this. And just hook up a laptop to the USB port and people can program their own games as they go. Oh man, I love Pico Vaders. It's so good. Let's see if we can get that guy. Oh, I missed him. All right. That takes care of us for today. I hope you enjoyed the absurd, full-sized arcade joystick and buttons enclosed in a cigar box attached to our Arduboy, the cute little game player that's now not so little. I do still have one that I can fit in my pocket, and one that can't. So maybe this one, I'll finish out a nicer case for it and put up a little mini guide for this. And it would be kind of cool to add in the Pico, add in a piezo extender to put a bigger speaker on it, maybe attach it to this case so you get the nice vibrations from it. I did notice the piezo inside of here is much, much quieter when the case is off, so having it reverberate off of the case actually lends a lot to the volume on it. So there's a bunch of other hacks that are possible with it. Let us know in the chat if you come up with anything fun. We'd love to hear about it and see pictures. And I will hang out in the chat on Discord and YouTube for a little bit and continue the discussion. So thank you everyone for coming out to John Park's workshop today, a special Wednesday edition, and I will see you back at the regular time next week, so watch for a blog post and a tweet about that. All right, well, let's go hang out in the chat.